Hey everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to you. Whoop whoop. Yep, we are here with another video. So what are we doing today? Today is a tip and trick. Today is a little different. You know, we just don't bind every day. We may piece every day. We may sew every day. We may quilt almost every day. But we don't necessarily bind every day. And some of us will have a lot of binding to do, and we just kind of let it sit, and then we sit and bind a whole bunch, right? So binding doesn't always happen all the time. And sometimes you have to look at something, or you have to think about something a little longer to remember exactly what it is that you're doing, right? So today's video is just for joining the ends. That's all we're doing today, okay? Because that way you have a reference. If this makes sense to you, you'll have a reference for yourself. You won't have to watch an entire video of somebody just doing binding. It's just joining the ends on that first run. Hallelujah. Because I can't even tell you how many times I've sat there and racked my brain. I get it twisted. I've never cut too short, knock on wood. But I might get it twisted, or I might sew the wrong way. There's all those things that can happen because we just don't do this every day. And I like to just say, okay, what can I do to remind myself? What can I do to remind myself on how to do this again? Well, guess what, guys? If it goes 6 months before I do another binding, I'm going to refer to this when I have to join the ends. For myself, ain't gonna lie, because it happens, right? Especially when you don't do it all the time. So that's what this is all about. We're just gonna join those ends together, and I'm giving you some tips that I'm hoping will be different than what you've seen before and make more sense if you have fallen into the trap like I have, where you've twisted them or sewn the wrong way. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this quilt. Now, I've already got this finished because I came back and did the intro once I was done, right? But let's go ahead and get this started, and I'll see you guys up close and personal in just a sec. Okay, this is my very first tip, okay? I wish somebody would have told me this years ago because it would have helped me dramatically. All right, you are looking at this quilt with me in the way that my eyes see it. This is my point of view. So I want you to notice that I'm going to join these two ends, and these two ends are facing away from me, okay? The rest of the quilt is towards my body, all right? So that's the first thing. Turn your quilt so that the binding is away from you, okay? Yay. The second thing I want to mention is I always have a longer tail with the end that I have stopped. So I've started here. This is my starting tail, and because of the way I do my binding, this is always the longest one. And I am going to put this on top. Okay? You want to keep that on top. Long on top. Remember that. Okay. Now at this point you have two options. I will tell you this is a 2.5 inch binding strip. Okay? So we're going to work with 2.5. If you had 2.25, you're going to want to work with 2.25. Whatever the width of your binding strip is, that's the width that we're going to cut with. So here are the two options. First and foremost, I'm just going to clip a little edge here. Okay. And you want to put your shorter tail on the bottom, longer tail on the top. Okay. You want to find where it overlaps. And you could use the width of your strip to measure and snip, because you want to line it up on this side where it starts to overlap, and where this ends. I'm going to change it because it's straight on that end. You'd cut right here. Now you want to make sure you're only cutting the top strip, because we're getting a 2.5 inch overage. Okay. The other option, you could very simply find that overhang where underneath where it starts, put this right on top. Put your ruler at the 2.5-inch mark. Okay. And you could draw a line. All right. And that's where you'll cut. Just so you know, I'm going to lay this down again. This works just the same. Okay. So then I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. And my ruler was right before it. So I'm going to attempt to cut right before it. Boom. This is going into my binding for extra binding. I can always do a scrappy binding with it. Okay. Okay, so the next step, we're going to open this back up. We're going to, this one right here, the shorter one, we're just going to open it up and flip it. Just don't twist it, don't turn it, just put it right down on the bottom here, okay? Because now we want to make sure our right side's together. But one of the things we're always doing, I don't know about you, but I have done it, I can't even tell you how many times, twisted it up, okay? So just open it up and put it so the wrong side is down. Then we'll take our longer one. All right, now this is kind of finicky, but before we keep going, just so you know, I've given myself, I don't know, what, about a foot here, okay? That gives me plenty of room to work with. So go back to where we were, open it up, flip it right down. Then we're going to take this edge, which I'm going to have to fold up my quilt a little bit to maneuver. But you'll open, oh, here, let me show you. So it's laying flat. We're just going to open it up, and we're just going to put the right side right on top. All right. Now you don't have to worry about the 1/4 inch or nothing. You just want to line her up. Some people do. I don't. Just line it up. Okay. Now here is the other important thing. Another thing that some people do is they sew the wrong, because you want to go corner to corner on one of them, right? Here's the next tip. You want to sew the line that is parallel to your quilt. So if I sewed this one, I'm at a 90-degree angle from my quilt. That's not going to work, okay? So let me turn down a light just a second. Okay. So what we're going to do, you can take a pin at this point to help, but you're not going to want a pin where you're going to draw your line, or if it's going to be in the way of your ruler. I always debate. But you have an option here. You can simply pin this in a couple of places and then just take it to the sewing machine and sew your line. But if you'll notice, this is the line that I want to sew, okay? So you can either just pin it and take it, or you can take your ruler and find the 2 edges. Okay. And draw yourself a line. And that'll be the line that you stitched with, okay? Like I said, you don't have to do that. And I will tell you, even though there's a line there, I'm still going to pin, because shift happens. And I need it to be far enough away from my stitch line, because I don't want my foot to get in the way. And oh, now I've got it all kind of goofy woofy. That's okay. Just pin it. Grab my second pin. Oop, got to make sure we're nice and straight. All right. And so then I'm just going to simply take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch along that line. So let me take you there and we'll get this done. Okay, so I've already got it loaded. Now I want you to notice, this is one of the reasons the 12 inches is very nice. And don't get me wrong, I have left myself with 3, or 4, and it wasn't enough, so I've had to back out and do different things to give me the maneuverability. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this also, but when I pulled it closer to myself, I actually did not draw my first line along the 2 corners, so I just drew another one. Not a big deal. And so all we're now going to do, now you also will notice that I do have my walking foot loaded. That is perfectly fine. It's not needed, but because I've been working on putting the binding on, my foot was already there. Okay. So, that's why you see it. And I'm going to use it again when I go to attach the other side, right? So that it's perfectly fine no matter what foot it is that you use. I'm just letting you know that mine was on there because I'm doing binding. Okay, so I'm just going to simply sew straight down that line. So let's see how I did. Whoo, fingers crossed. Okay, I haven't done nothing. You still see the pins. You still see everything. So I'm going to take the pins off with you guys. I'm a little nervous. One of the things before we do any more cutting, you want to lay that quilt out once again. And you want to make sure that this is going to lay nicely. Oh, and thank goodness it does. See, the tips work, guys. The tips work. Again, it's one of those things where you have to trust the process. Now, if you'll notice, there's a whole lot of bulk. So I'm just going to simply take my, now you could use a rotary cutter. You could do whatever you like, but I'm just going to simply take this pair of scissors here. And I'm just going to cut, oh, I don't know, roughly 1/4 inch or so, 3/8. Not too skinny though. All right. And I will take this, you know what? No, I won't. Let's just be real. I probably will not take this to the sewing machine, but I am pressing my seam open, or to the sewing machine, I'm into the iron. Some people like to take this part to the iron. I'm not going to do it. I'm just, look at this. Look at this. Beautiful. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take this back to the sewing machine. I'm going to start where I ended. This has been, I did back stitching here to secure that. I did back stitching here, and this is just wide open, right? So I'm just going to start where the back stitch is, stitch right along here to close this off. So I'll show you that. I'll be with you in just a sec. Okay, so we're back at the sewing machine. This may get a little short, a little sped up. I'm not sure. We'll see what the wonderful editor likes to do, but we are going to, I know you can't see it, but I'm right about where the where the back stitching stopped. So I'm just going to go ahead and lower my needle, and I'm going, now notice I don't have a seam guide. That's not normal. But I wanted to try and do this without it. Whoop, might help if I put the presser foot down. Don't you love it when your machine yells at you? Okay. And we'll just, I'm going to go ahead and do another back stitch. You don't really have to because you're going over those back stitches, but now you do want to make sure that your quilt's not going to pull, get any drag on it. It works much better if there's zero drag. And when the quilt's heavy, it can be quite a chore. I do a little overlapping, I do a little back stitching, and I cut threads. Okay, now I know this is where I started, way over here, because I have a thread. Just going to snip the thread. I'm sure I have one on the back. Whoop, got all kinds of threads. I'll come back and deal with all that. Okay, and I stopped right here, and we are bound, guys. We are 100% completely bound and ready to attach our other side. So I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so I have her all bound. The The ends are joined, so you know the next step. We got to flip her on over and get her attached all the way. And I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and stitch in the ditch here in the front to make sure my front looks really pretty, and it goes a little faster when I use the machine opposed to hand stitching. But which way you do yours, what I hope is that any of these tips inside of this video have been helpful for you, because sometimes when we look at things in a different perspective, the world opens up. And it truly, once I, really started to grasp some of the concepts of what was going on, it got a lot easier for me too. So I wanted to redo that video just for you to make your binding experience better, right? Especially if you think like I do and it all made sense, right? All right. So that's it for today. I'm going to have to get off here and do some binding to make sure we're finished. But I want to remind y'all, I will be on today, 3 p.m. Eastern time on both platforms, both Facebook and YouTube, for a live Q&A, live quilting and answer session. So come on aboard if you have any questions or comments or suggestions. We would love to visit with you. And see what your binding is all about, and if you have any questions related to what you have seen today. But if you won't be there, or if you're watching the hashtag replay, don't hesitate to drop those comments down below. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, ting! That'll let you know when we upload a new video, let you know when we are also live. So don't forget to do that. And for those of you who have been around a while, thank you again for stopping by. I cannot tell you how much we all here at Halo appreciate all of you. So I'll see y'all at 3, or I'll see y'all soon. And until next time, may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful. Never stop believing, and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy Wednesday. Happy quilting, or should I say, happy binding. See y'all soon.